Welcome back to the Filipino FM channel. We are back with another Football Manager 2023 experiment. I have put the fastest players at each position onto one team, and we are going to spend 5 seasons with them to see how they do. And I've chosen to put them on Nottingham Forest, and we're going to see how this team does with Nottingham Forest in the English Premier Division. So let's talk about the team. So our goalkeepers are Jel Sherpin and Jerome Pryor. So if we look at it, this is Jel Sherpin, and honestly, he's a pretty good young goalkeeper. Pace 16 and acceleration 13. And we also have Jerome Pryor, who has a pace of 16 and an acceleration of 16. This is the fastest goalkeeper I could find in the game, so he will be starting for Nottingham Forest, and he starts off in the game at Pau FC in the second division of France. Moving into our right backs, but we also have players who can play center back here. First, we have Kyle Walker. I don't think much needs to be said about Kyle Walker. Fantastic player, 18 pace, 19 acceleration. He is an excellent player. But next, as a right back, and he'll actually be starting at center back for us, is Tyler McClure. 18 pace, 17 acceleration. He is absolutely rapid. He actually starts the game at Northampton in Sky Bet League 2, having just moved there. Overall, I think at maybe a Sky Bet League 2 Vanarama National League level, he's pretty good, especially with that pace. Obviously, in the EPL, I don't know if his mentals and technicals are quite up to scratch, but he will be starting at center back as the fastest center back in the game, and we'll see how he does. Next, we have Lucas Klosterman, who is exceptionally quick and with really good stamina, so 18 pace, only 13 acceleration. He starts off the game playing at Red Bull Leipzig in the Bundesliga, and overall, he has pretty solid attributes. I think he's definitely a player that can play in the EPL. Next up is 22-year-old Ghanaian Patrick Pfeiffer. Patrick starts the game at Darmstadt in the second Bundesliga division. And honestly, he is a very good player. I think he's definitely a player that can make the step up to the EPL from the second Bundesliga. Really good physicals, 18 pace, but also 17 jumping reach. I think he has pretty decent mentals. And for a center back, 15 heading, 13 marking, and 13 tackling. He looks like a player to me who can make that step up. Next up, the ever rapid Alphonso Davies, 19 pace, 19 acceleration. I don't think there's much needs to be said about Alphonso Davies. He is a fantastic player. We're going to be playing Amadou Onana in the midfield. So he starts off the game at Everton. He's actually a player they signed last season, I believe. And he is a solid midfielder, 17 pace. I was a little bit surprised that there actually weren't really faster players in the midfield, but he is going to be playing as an anchor right in defensive mid. Next up, we have Jeremy Frimpong, 18 pace, 18 acceleration. He is absolutely rapid. He starts the game at Bayer Leverkusen. And overall, another really solid player. I think he's a solid EPL player. I think everyone in Football Manager knows Achraf Hakimi, 20 pace, 18 acceleration. He's one of the world's best. I actually didn't realize how rapid Federico Valverde is. Obviously, the Real Madrid central midfielder had really had a breakout season last season. I think he was fantastic. Really phenomenal physical, 17 pace, 17 acceleration. He will be starting for this team as a box-to-box midfielder. Next up is Gibril Sao, who's a player that I haven't actually known much of until this. He starts off in the Bundesliga at Eintracht Frankfurt, and he is excellent. 17 pace, 16 stamina, 17 natural fitness, decent mentals and technicals. He is a player that can get up and down in the center of midfield. Whether you're playing his Masala, box-to-box midfielder, or a central midfielder attack, I think he's a really exciting player, especially with his rapid pace. Next up, Karim Adeyemi, 19 pace, 19 acceleration. He's phenomenal. He's a wonder kid that I think in the previous edition, maybe FM22, he was one to watch. He has since made that move to Dortmund. Still a fantastic wonder kid, a lot of room to grow, and very pacey. Daniel James playing at Leeds now, I believe, or maybe is he still at Fulham? Yep, so he is Fulham on loan, but he is back to Leeds in real life. 19 pace, 19 acceleration. I mean, he is a really exciting player. Obviously, he moved from Manchester United. I think Marcus Rashford even said that Daniel James was the fastest player at Man United in his recent interview with Gary Neville. A bit of a one-trick pony, with his pace and acceleration, but he is definitely a player who has shown that he can play in the EPL. Next up, the muscle man himself, Adama Traore. 20 pace, 20 acceleration. Fantastic player for Wolves, although he was at Barcelona last season or the previous season. Decent dribbling, excellent pace, excellent acceleration. At least in Football Manager, Adama Traore has always been really good. I've always seen him do really well. So he's going to be, I think, a really exciting player in this team. Next up on the left, we have Frank Achiampong. I actually don't know who this player is, but he is a 28-year-old Ghanaian who plays for the Ghanaian national team. 18 pace, 18 acceleration. He can play all up and down the left side. So he actually starts off at Shenzhen in China in the Super League, but he was one of the fastest players in the game, so he absolutely makes it into the squad. Kylian Mbappe, I think he's the fastest player in the game, 20 pace, 20 acceleration. Do I need to say more about Kylian Mbappe? And we are going to soon round out the squad. Next up, Victor Osimhen, who is also in the most signed 11. 19 pace, 17 acceleration. I mean, he's absolutely phenomenal. He is the one to buy in Football Manager. A fastest team isn't complete without Erling Haaland. 19 pace, 17 acceleration. Again, another player I don't think I need to say too much about. And finally, we have Celtic winger Daitzen Maeda with 19 acceleration, 19 pace. I actually didn't realize how rapid Maeda is. He starts off at Celtic. They actually just signed him for 1.4 million from Japan, and he has technicals that maybe needs to work with, but excellent mentals, excellent physicals. He is an exciting winger. This is what the fastest 11 in Football Manager looks like playing a 4-3-3 formation. And for this, I haven't put the best players on the field. I've put the fastest players on the field. So this is the fastest players at each position. We have Mbappe up top, Adama Traore on the left, Daniel James on the right, So Valverde and Onana in the midfield, Hakimi at right back, Maglor and Klosterman at center back, Alphonso Davies at left back, and Jerome Pryor playing at goalkeeper. And unfortunately, there are some players that have missed out on this team, players like Vinicius Jr., who are some of the fastest players in the game. But unfortunately, I was trying to put about 2 players at each position. So, like Vinicius Jr., for example, Adama Traore was just faster than him. So he didn't quite make it in the team. But if you're looking for other quick, big players, I mean, Vinicius Jr. would probably be the biggest name that just missed out on this team. So that is the fastest 11, along with the fastest bench in Football Manager 2023. I'm going to simulate 5 seasons and see how they do. But let's go 1 season into the future to see how they're doing after their first season with Nottingham Forest. See you then. Welcome back. We are 1 season in the future, and the fastest 11 players led Nottingham Forest to a 4th place finish and Champions League football. I'm actually astonished at how well our fastest 11 did, because obviously this has great players, but I was a little surprised with Maglor and Pryor. I wasn't sure if they would kind of be up there with, I mean, Traore and James are certainly excellent players. I don't know if they're Champions League quality, but players certainly like Mbappe, Hakimi, Davies, Valverde must have led them to that 1st place finish. Let's see how some of these players did. Let's look at the tactics and see how many goals he scored. 23 goals for Mbappe, so he's actually close to finishing 3rd. He had an excellent season. How did Adama Traore do? 13 goals. He was fantastic. Daniel James, not so great from Daniel James. Adama Traore had a good season. Federico Valverde, 6 goals, 9 assists. Another player having a wonderful season. Jibril So, not great from him. Although, maybe he didn't play so well. I think Onana, decent showing from the defensive center mid standpoint. Alphonso Davies, 8 assists, 7.14 rating. I mean, we know that Davies and Hakimi are excellent players. I'm really curious to see how this center back pairing did. So Klosterman, 6.96 overall rating. Honestly, that's pretty decent, but Maglor's one, oh, he didn't play so well. 6.46 rating, playing in the English Premier Division. He's getting better, but yeah, I'm not surprised that he didn't play so well. And how did the goalkeeper do? Honestly, not too bad. 6.95 overall rating. He might be one to look out for if you're maybe even a team in like the championship. I am curious to see also how some of the players on the bench did. Erling Haaland must have come on. I mean, 13 goals off the bench for the season. That's pretty good. Victor Osimhen, he actually didn't play once. Okay, so that must have been because Erling Haaland was coming on. Adeyemi, not terrible. He must have been coming off the bench as well. Frimpong, did he get any game time? He played 29 times. A goal and 3 assists. Obviously, he did pretty decent. Achiampong, 10 games, 6.62 overall rating. That's not terrible. I'm sure Kyle Walker came on. He was okay. And finally, did Joel Sherpin play at all? Probably not. Yeah, I'm not surprised there with Jerome Pryor playing most of the games in goal. So overall, this team played fantastically well. Let's look at their schedule. I mean, they made it all the way to fourth place in the English Premier Division. Looks like they were knocked out in the Caribou Cup second round, as well as getting knocked out in the FA Cup fifth round. But a fourth place finish for the fastest team in the English Premier Division and playing Champions League football next season, I'd say that's pretty good. All right, that's one season into the future. How about we head to season 3 and see how they did after that? Welcome back. We are in 2025. So the last time we saw Nottingham Forest, they finished fourth. How did they do in the next season? Fifth, but still managed to get into the Champions League and then finish third. I'll tell you what, the fastest, maybe just a really rapid team. Obviously, the team has some fantastic players, but having a really rapid athletic team looks like it's doing very well. In the previous season, Kylian Mbappe did finish second in the top goal scorer award, and he finished third the season before that. And it looks like Mbappe is the only player who has made it into the Team of the Year awards. First and second seasons, nobody from Nottingham Forest, but Kylian Mbappe making it after that. So looking at season 2 now, it looks like Nottingham Forest didn't do so great in the Champions League, losing a number of games there. And in fact, it looks like they actually dropped down to the Europa League. How did they do in the Europa League? So in the Europa League, oh, they lost. Wow, they got destroyed in the semifinals to Dortmund. That's a little disappointing, although I'm sure player fatigue had a role to play in that based on the kind of poor run of form towards the end of the season. But in there, I did see a Caribou Cup final with Mbappe and Adeyemi getting on the score sheet. So we already have one trophy for our fastest team in England. How did they do in the third season? Oh, they lost in the FA Cup final. Oh, and De Bruyne in 89th and 9, that's heartbreaking for the FA Cup final. Losing in the UEFA Champions League round of 16 to AC Milan. I'm not really surprised about that given how we have the lineup set, so I'm not super surprised about that. And how did they do in the Caribou Cup the following season? Oh, they actually lost in the fourth round. So overall, a Champions League team, 2 cup finals, 1 cup final win. The fastest team is doing quite well. Obviously, Mbappe is the standout performer, but let's see how some of our underrated players are doing. How did Jerome Pryor do? Overall, he's had some pretty solid seasons. I mean, averaging kind of a 6.8, 6.9 overall rating. Magloire, how's he doing? He's definitely improved. He's getting better. He started off kind of poorly, but he's getting better and settling into his own. He looks better than when he started. So maybe playing at a higher level is helping him out. How about Klosterman? Overall, again, pretty solid. I mean, he's doing about the same as Magloire. Onana in that defensive mid role, he has absolutely been solid. Gibril Sao, he has definitely getting better as it goes along, averaging a 7.0 overall rating in the past season, and he is still absolutely rapid. He might be one to sign if you're looking for that position in the EPL. Daniel James, he's been kind of average, but Adama Traore is one who I think might be doing really well. I'm 13, 9, and 9. Honestly, I think Adama Traore is having a pretty good output. As far as our fastest 11 is going, I think most of them are putting in really good performances. And honestly, they're not doing too bad. Well, that's the end of season 3. We have 5 seasons for this simulation. So let's go ahead to season 5 and see how our fastest 11 did. Welcome back. We are at the end of the save in 2027. Let's see how Nottingham Forest did. I also just saw how close when Nottingham Forest finished third, how close that EPL race was. 2 teams on 69 points, and it was barely goal difference. for a Chelsea victory. Of course, Tottenham not winning the league, not getting a trophy there. But Nottingham Forest finishing third the last time we saw them. After that, a second place finish. I'll tell you what, this and wait, did West Ham got relegated but got into the Europa League? I wonder what they won. But Nottingham Forest finishing second, that is a fantastic result. Did they ever win the league? Oh, not quite. So fourth in the fifth and final season of this simulation. Overall, they honestly did pretty well. Did we ever get Kylian Mbappe? In the past 2 seasons, Kylian Mbappe winning the top scorer award. I mean, no surprise there with how good we know he is. And how's the team of the year look? It looks like we might just Mbappe and Federico Valverde making it. So two absolutely rapid players getting into the team of the year. Looking at their schedule from the past 2 seasons, actually decent in the Champions League there, but where did they get knocked out at? So they made it to the knockout rounds. They went through in the round of 16, but they lost out in the quarterfinals to Barcelona. And it looks like we were knocked out of the Caribou Cup, FA Cup third round, and Caribou Cup quarterfinal as well. And how did we do the following season? FA Cup, we lost. That would have been a storybook ending to this save, but losing out in the FA Cup final and extra time to Liverpool. Again, making the Champions League quarterfinal, but getting knocked out there. And how did we do in the Caribou Cup? I don't see. Oh, and then losing in pens in the Caribou Cup fourth round to Manchester United. I think that makes it just the one Caribou Cup trophy, but a couple of FA Cup finals as well, and some decent Champions League runs. I think the fastest team has done very well for Nottingham Forest. So again, let's look to see how some of our players did, especially our starting 11. How did Pryor do? Overall, honestly, some solid overall rating, 6.91 in the last season. Let's look at Magloire to see how he did. He got better. I'm proud of Magloire. You know what? He started off 6.46 overall rating, but he kept his head up. He played in almost every game. And you know what? He got up to about a 6.8. Well done, Tyler Magloire. Lucas Klosterman, another player who I think was solid. He almost got that 7.0 overall rating. So not too bad from him. How did Onana do? 6.88 overall. Again, the common theme here I feel like is everyone just kind of doing solid. Jibril Sow had one really fantastic season. He dipped a little bit in the fifth season, but again, another player who did really well. Daniel James, he did really well in the 2025-26 season, but otherwise, I mean, his outputs are kind of average. Adama Traore was one who was really exciting. And in the last season, 11, I'll tell you what, Adama Traore, with that 20 pace, he is one to sign in Football Manager. We know how Kylian Mbappe did. I mean, we know that Federico Valverde did very well. We can confirm that here. I mean, we know he's a fantastic player. Same with Alphonso Davies and Achraf Hakimi. Again, Alphonso Davies having 5 really solid seasons. Hakimi maybe not doing as well as I thought he would, but I mean, he's another player who had 5 really solid seasons. So overall, the fastest 11 players did really well. I'm sure they were supplemented by players like Erling Haaland, Osimhen, and Adeyemi. I mean, why don't we see how they did as well? Erling Haaland is such a good player. I mean, even coming off the bench, like he wasn't starting, but I mean, still really fantastic outputs there. Victor Osimhen, he probably wasn't playing as much given that Mbappe was starting and Haaland probably would have been coming off the bench. But we know how good Victor Osimhen did. He did really well in the most signed 11. So if you guys would like to see that, that'll be probably somewhere above. So moving on to Karim Adeyemi, how did he do? Honestly, for coming off the bench, I think he had some pretty good seasons there. I don't know if Mayada would have ever gotten onto the pitch. Okay, he played a few games. He had probably 2024-25 season was his best. At this point, I mean, still 19 pace, 19 acceleration. I mean, he is a rapid player. Jeremy Frimpong, the Dutchman, you know what? He actually played quite a number of games. He was coming off the bench a lot, probably due to his versatility. Honestly, he did pretty solid for coming off the bench. If you are looking for a player who can play on both sides, but definitely all up and down the right side, he is definitely one to look at. Achiampong, a player, the Ghanaian who can play all up and down the left side, so at 33 years old and probably not playing too much, his pace and acceleration has definitely gone down. But again, he had some pretty solid seasons. I don't think he was fantastic. I don't think he was poor. Kyle Walker, did he play a whole lot? I mean, we know Kyle Walker. He put in some pretty solid performances all right back. Patrick Pfeiffer, again, another player who did solid. He actually played quite a few games. Center back, I mean, he's a rapid center back with excellent jumping reach. I think he's one that could be weaponized in the game more than we're seeing here. That 18 jumping reach and 18 pace, corner kicks, he would be a near post corner magician. And finally, Joel Sherpin, I don't know if he would have played a whole lot. Yeah, he didn't play any games, so probably would have played all of them. But Joel Sherpin is definitely one to look at if you're interested in that kind of player. 19 aerial reach, 20 jumping reach, 16 pace. He is a towering goalkeeper. He might be one to look at signing if you're in the market for a goalkeeper, maybe as a lower EPL club. But that's how the fastest players at each position all do on one team. Overall, top four finish, very good, and a Caribou Cup, a number of FA Cup finals, and some pretty deep runs in the Champions League. Overall, very solid. Well, with that, thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you all are having a wonderful week, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.